America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any conflicts of interest to declare at this time? Approval of the August 4th, 2025 agenda.
I'll make a motion to
Second.
the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of July 7th, 2025 meeting minutes.
I would think.
In your packet. And they were published in the paper on 7 July 16th. Right there.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The approval of the July 8th public hearing meeting minutes, Travis pointed out, I don't put those in the agenda packet, so I will bring those to the next meeting. They were published on the bulletin board.
So we'll continue that item, I have a motion to continue that item to the September.
September 8th,
September 18th.
are you making the motion?
Yep, that's it, my motion would be to.
I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. wasn't enough time to balance the books right now. But up through June, the cash balances are here and published. And then, with regards to opening business accounts with First Interstate Bank and Maverick, her list says here that she's updated the ACE account. So the ACE account now includes, it removed folks that are no longer employed with the town or serving the board, and it added Todd Heck, the finance officer, Nikki Boyer, Travis Lassiter, Christine Wells, and Steve, you're still on it. Tammy, you're still on it. And so that's who's on the ACE account right now. Then, she did submit for the town credit card, and those names will include Nikki Barrera, the finance officer, Todd Heck, Steve White, Tammy White, and Travis. And Travis, because he is the second signature on the checking account. Okay, and then, let's see what else. So that was the First Interstate Bank. So, the First Interstate Bank card, the credit card is gonna kind of cover us for Maverick, so she's decided not to apply for a Maverick credit card. There's no need to do that.
What's the limit on the credit?
She didn't put that in here, but at the board last meeting, I thought we had decided it was $2,000 is the max that we can. And that's for those items that's currently being reimbursed by different folks to pick up supplies and things like that. I don't have stuff. Alright.
So who has control of the credit card, you?
No, so there is and when we come to that, there is a credit card policy that's been drafted and she's completing it now. So what will happen with that is that the finance officer will maintain full control of the credit cards. If purchases need to be made, then that person will contact her to get the credit card. They'll have 5 days to return the credit card along with the voucher and the receipt back to the finance officer. So the finance officer will keep them in their lock and key. All right, and so the next one is the second reading of ordinance 2025-01. So I will only be reading the heading of this ordinance since it's the second. So ordinance 2025-01, an ordinance to supplementally appropriate funds be it ordained by the Board of Trustees of the Town of Oakland Gap, County of Custer, South Dakota, that the following sum is supplementally appropriated to meet the obligations of the municipality and comply with SDCL 9-21-7.
Move to approve ordinance 2025-01.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? You vote?
Aye, but I have a question.
Okay, let's do it.
The contributions and donations,
Uh-huh.
that, from community center, the monies that we make off of our breakfast, that's included in that?
Yes, so what has to happen is even when you have a free will giving or a donation of cash or equipment in kind, in accordance with the South Dakota law, what you have to do is you have to account for those. They're still the community center. All this does is account for those dollars to receive into the
So
community
in other
center.
words, this statement right here, you can go in there and take every time we.
No, that's not what this says, Ray. What this says is that it's acknowledging, so let me back up. When the town created the 2025 budget ordinance, in there, it did not account for any community center donations or free will givings.
So that's
Okay, so-
$4,600, $4,200, that was budgeted money.
It was
to-
not budgeted, so this is not, so let me finish. So in there, we did not budget for contribution, for donations or free will
Right,
givings, and that's your breakfast, right? So what has to happen is we have to account for every dollar that's sitting in the general
All
fund.
right, okay, right.
So all this is procedure. It doesn't touch the money, it doesn't do anything. what it does is it acknowledges that the community center received donations and free will givings, and that it's now on the books. So we are not allowed to spend money without appropriating
Right,
money.
and on one of the pages somewhere,
Yeah.
it said that, and my understanding that like the community center has this much money, and I'm just saying from contributions and that is here.
Yep. Yeah, so right here, on your statement of, yeah, so your ending balance as of June was $1,397. That's after all your expenses.
What all is in our expenses that charged to the community center,
So your expenses would include, your windows.
which we pay for?
Yep. Your expenses will also include your propane, electricity, maintenance and repair. Anything that's done to the community center has to be expense against the community center.
All right, now the next question. What happens if, the community center committee decides to open their own bank account? Can we do that?
You cannot do that without board approval, and then there's some things that we would have to work out with the attorney in order to do that. So it would also include an ordinance as well, and how you're gonna operate the community center. So you still would not be allowed to have a separate treasurer in that case.
Okay.
If that was something that you were looking toward, what you might consider is doing something like a nonprofit or something like that.
All right, okay.
Yeah. But all this is procedure. It does nothing to the monies. It just acknowledges that we received it as a town, and then now you can spend it. So you'll have to expect another one of these at the end of the year. We decided just to wait, and then at the end of the year we'll count for the rest of them because we have to publish in the newspaper every time we produce one.
So I have a question, do you have
Yes,
a
sir.
budget for the community center then?
The community center's budget for 2025, out of the general fund, the board at the time set a budget at $6,500. Now that pays for your routine maintenance and repair, utilities, those types of things from the community center. So the community center does get budgeted, and this ordinance here, what this does is these are funds that are above and beyond that budget. So that was budget for the general fund. These are funds received from private entities, and they just have to be accounted for, that's all.
But they still go through the community center?
Yeah, they go nowhere. This is just procedure so that when the auditors come next time, they're gonna look for this and they're gonna say, where is it that you appropriated those dollars? So you can't have an ordinance or resolution. You can't spend money without an ordinance or resolution appropriation.
So the money can only be spent on the community center then?
That is what the board decided at the time, that the donations and the free will givings in kind would be spent on the community center, and that was what was decided, so.
It's kinda like if we budgeted $6,500, you spend this, and now that's, $10,000, let's say we spend it all. The auditors are gonna look at it and be like, where'd you get that extra money? Did you tack more on the people? No, we didn't, we got it from you. And all this is doing is saying, we got donations in, and it's going to that fund, so we can spend more money on that project.
What if the actual $6,500 part?
That is, yeah, that's from the general fund that the town budgeted.
For next year then?
No, next year's budget will be read next month.
But that's, so it's, there's like you say, there's $6,500 right now dedicated for maintenance.
Yeah, so
Well,
that was what they were given. We would have to look at the revenues and
That covers your,
expenditures.
that's
I
covers your
didn't bring
propane,
it.
utilities. and all
That covers everything, that takes care of the
That's just,
utilities.
that's not what utilities broke.
The utilities there, the propane, they use quite a bit of propane, especially in the winter. I wish I had the sheet with me, but I don't.
Which that should decrease
Thank you, we'll have that.
considerably when we get the windows in the upper slopes.
Sure, yeah. Yep. Any other questions on the ordinance? So, ready your vote? Any opposed? Motion carries. The next one is on insurance claims. So we had two insurance claims that we submitted to the insurance. One was for the broken glass at Woodman Hall, and then the other was for the busted bid cap for bike insurance minus the $500 deductible per each event.
I thought we had decided for one on Woodland Hall, that we were gonna just do it ourselves, because we do window panes and they, no more of the water and dust, we can decide not to put that in the insurance. Right.
Well, what happened is, I submitted for, estimate on that broken window, and the window came back at $11.75.
Okay, right.
And most of it has to do with traveling to get it here, it's that big single pane. So I said, well, crap, then I'm submitting that to the insurance. And so definitely it'll cut our cost. And then, the window was $11.75, so minus the $500 deductible, we'll have to pay $675 out of pocket. And then, the big cap at the above ground well was $2,800 for repair on that big cap. I submitted it to the insurance, they approved it, so they will reimburse us $2,300. And then, when we get to the water, we'll talk about the other quotes that we have for out there as well. Then we have another quote that came in for that bank cap that was a little lower, so our out-of-pocket costs will be a little lower than that. Couple $100 lower. Win-win. Alright, so the water project, okay, let me back up to alright, so with regards to the insurance claims, I will need a motion to go ahead with repairs on the glass of Open Hall or open discussion on what we do with Open Hall before we can make the repairs at all.
Let me ask you this, is there any reason why we can't get up there and get a piece of stainless steel, or aluminum, whatever, hot wood, or gas, positive, all of it? Is there any reason why we can't do that?
There's no reason why we can't do that, but it begs the question of what do you wanna do with the building? It's three-sided, boarded up already, so if we're not gonna use it, do we let it sit
No,
there?
I'm talking about the boat tank of the.
Oh, the tank, okay, I was talking about the window.
Yeah, I thought we were talking about the window too.
Okay, so with regards to the above ground tank, let me get you.
I'm in the repair probably, and we have 2 inches long, something like that.
Alright, so this is the bank
Right,
right
right.
here, and, Todd can speak to it, but it doesn't seem that you can just wrap a piece of metal around that, cause this was in our inspection report.
Not only that, but it takes that special screen you have to put around that, and the screen is all damaged as well because of the hail. So that's not, actually, that bug is gonna get into the tank.
All right, now that's the other picture you had of the drainage screen, is that what you're talking about, Brian?
No, the screen on the vent.
There's
Right,
a screen
okay,
on
all right,
the
okay,
vent.
all right, okay, I didn't know there was a screen on.
Yeah, you have to have a screen on that as well.
All right, okay. all right.
Otherwise you just have that vent up there, you can have birds, stuff like that going into there. It's gotta have it screened off, it's gotta be that 24 mesh, whatever. Stainless steel, yes. And that, the bid is for them to go up there and replace that whole cap, screen, everything.
It's gonna cost us $500, basically. Maybe a little less, because the other quote came in a little lower, so that could help out. And then numbers. Alright, so back to the window. So, we move forward and repair the glass, which is kind of something that I would, since we already did the work to get the quote, we will have to have someone come out and fix it. Or we determine what to do with the building. Woodland Hall.
I'm not a perfect,
Me either.
taking that around, I don't have it.
No, you need to be fixed up and kept in the community.
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking. But what, then my next question is, we fix it up, I don't have much of an issue with fixing up, putting new floor under, putting the window in it, insulating it, depending on what, put a bathroom in it, do whatever, but then we do all of that, what are we gonna use it for?
That's a good question.
That is a big question there, big question, but whatever, I'm just gonna use the number 10 grand just for a number. Get into that building, and then it sits there like it is now, empty. So that's throwing good money out the bad money.
Could the town lease it out to another business?
Well, if there's somebody who shows any interest in a business, I mean, that might be a possibility.
I've had
I don't see anybody lining up at the door to,
I bet you'd be surprised. I bet there'd be somebody that would want to rent it out or put a business in there.
All right,
Somebody
okay.
talked about doing an art gallery at one time, you know, and somebody might just come over and love this place and decide to sell his art and do his art right now.
well, that's a good point, Chris.
I think you fix at the time and in the long run, a couple of years to pay for it, so.
All right, okay. Possibility, I'm open for suggestions.
Because once we tear it down, it's no longer here.
That's right.
Then we got a lot we gotta contend with too.
Do we know that there's somebody who wants to come put an art gallery here?
I think there was one time somebody came through there talking about it.
Go ahead, now.
Would you ever consider giving the building away, selling it for a reasonable price, and somebody moved it onto their property, renovated it, kept it in town on their own property, instead of tearing it down?
Yeah. I think that's a bigger discussion.
Or just throwing it out there,
Yep.
and then somebody else would pay to renovate it, keep it intact, and it'd be somebody else's besides the town's property.
Something to,
Yeah.
discuss.
I mean,
So what
it's
I
off of
hear-
your books, it's
Yeah.
off your, it's still in town.
So what I hear from the community is that we just move forward to repair the building, revisit discussion of what we do with the building.
Is that what I'm catching?
Okay, so the chair entertains a motion to make the repairs in the
Yeah,
window.
I'm sorry, just
Go ahead.
from the, not sorry, but just, we're kind of working over there on the park and everything. If that building was removed, that would open up a lot of possibilities for the park. Like, we could, build a little pavilion there, we already have electricity. Maybe we could open up the possibilities for the park for it to be used. It's a historic building, which is why you want to put the glass in it if you can, to keep it part of the historic community. And if they moved it, I think it'd be a win for the town, because I think people like it, you know what I mean? Like, it's part of our community, but they don't know what to do with it because we really don't have the money. You put $10,000 in it. I don't know if we've got the money for that.
Right.
Somebody might wanna move it and take on that.
Well, there was, Deadwood was, at one time, I know Kathy, when she was, Deadwood was actually giving us some funding for that. Restore them.
Yeah.
I don't know the last time I checked into that, but I remember they did, I think they did give us a grant for the thing at one time. But that was kind of a historic building, that would be considered a historic building.
The challenge is, Chris, is finding somebody to help. The community center, they've kind of cracked the code a little bit. They've got a pretty good crew over there. They're getting windows. And we haven't cracked the code on the playground yet. There's just a few of us working on it. Some of the people, maybe they don't even care. Some people do, but if that was moved out of the way, you gotta find somebody to fix it. Yeah, you can get the money, but who's gonna do the repair? That's kind of the challenge.
I look at it, why not fix it up, put bathrooms in, since how it is next to the playground, so you have restrooms in.
Well, I think that part, my opinion, I think that needs to be done, whether it's used by the young kids, old kids, whatever, somebody is having a picnic under one of the awnings over there, whatever. I think we should proceed with getting a bathroom or bathrooms in over there, and then you run into another problem with bathrooms, you're gonna have to keep it year round per se, if you want to talk about it.
Put a round tech in. All those, they used to have them on all these little pullouts.
Right.
Block building, and I put 3 or 4 of them up, and you don't need to heat them.
Well, that's a good point too.
I don't know what they cost now.
No idea.
All right. Good discussion. So it sounds like we need to revisit what to do with the building.
Which also means the motion should be both of those in repair.
Yes.
For discussion. So my motion, we move forward with the repairs on both the glass at Woodman Hall and the attack the water tanks
was the highest bid that we received, and that was the bid that I submitted to the insurance.
That was pretty low, but.
Yes, that was, yep.
The underground tank, that was 8,000.
Yeah, now that's a different topic, and we're
Oh,
coming to that
okay, all right.
later. Yeah, it's not an insurance claim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the above ground tank was the only insurance claim that we made
Okay.
for that bid, so. So I'll second the motion to repair the two items. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, the water project, phase two construction management, I'm transitioning that over to Nikki, and I have been the point of contact of that. I'm transitioning that. I did go back and looked in meeting minutes, and when, and our past finance officer before Shelley, I've received compensation for construction management, of the contract because it's beyond the finance officer's duties as we have been set, so that is something that we'll need to address before we get to construction with that. Right now, everything's set up, there's nothing to do with that, but once we get a timeline for that, we'll have to come back and revisit that. Cell phone issuance, so, the finance officer has requested a cell phone, and her reasoning is that she has a big family who is far away, and she, does not want to lose, calls from the town, and she doesn't want to mingle her personal business with her professional business. And so she has, went out to, and she got a quote from Free Phone, and it's $35 plus taxes, per month, for the phone.
Make a motion to do that. I don't blame her that one year.
Okay,
Second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then, the next two items are on the key control and the credit card policy. She, has asked that those be passed off to her, so she now has those. And any feedback from anyone, if you guys have feedback on the key control or credit card policy, or anyone of the board members, please give that to Nikki. I did submit yours to her regardless. She's looking to finalize those, by the next month, so. Any questions?
What's the key control?
So the key control basically just kind of, thanks for asking a question, because it triggered the next item she had. It just basically sets a policy so that, there's an inventory of all the keys that have been issued, and anyone that has been issued a key, we'll just ask that they sign for those keys so that we have an accountability, and then the master keys will be kept in their lock and key in the finance officer office.
I have one question.
Yeah,
She's there on Monday and Tuesday, correct?
At this
Two-
time.
2 hours a day.
she's there, she can be there whenever, but
Well,
Mondays and
but
Tuesdays she's
my whole
there.
point being, and I'm just gonna use Steve, and Steve needs a key to something. And I just use fire hall just because it's an example.
Yeah,
Well, and Steve doesn't have keys. So now Steve needs to get in there to get a fire hose, for lack of a better one, whatever, and all that. So Steve, either he has to run her out at her place, or Steve has to run out to her place, or she has to come in to get a key. Now, yes, I know the theory and all of that, but,
I asked her that the
no,
other day,
that's not true.
all right, okay.
and myself or whoever gets a key to the hall keeps it.
Yeah,
They have it.
Right.
They don't have to go to her for that key.
All right, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
so it's just an inventory to know how many keys we have issued out, and whoever gets those keys, they have them, that's their responsibility to keep control of those keys and then report if they're lost or stolen. It's just so that we can maintain security.
Okay.
I've never worked with a government entity that didn't have a document that you sign off the keys you have, and if you lose them, you have to report it so that they know
Yeah.
what's out there and what can be at risk.
And then, Nikki brought up that she was reading through some past minutes and noticed that there was two separate replace the locks on the town hall, with all the changeover that we had.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
We don't have an issue with that anyway. I'm gonna say no.
I mean, there was a reason why there was a request for it, it said meeting minutes, why?
Well, like, the only one I recall is when Glenn first came into the board and that board meeting, had approved to have the locks changed. And I think it was just because there was turnover. And so at the time, I can't speak to what the board was thinking, I don't know. And then there was one before that, wasn't probably about a year before that, there were some minutes that had mentioned changing the locks. But she brought it to my attention and asked if the board was still interested in,
I say we don't have any issue. That's not changed law.
and we know, and we're sure we know who all has keys to the town hall.
No, we do not.
That would be the reason why I asked the question, is if it was supposed to have been changed, and for whatever reason,
I know, some people who have keys.
there may be a lot of keys out and about that we're not aware of.
That's very true.
Huh?
That's very true.
Yeah. So, since it was approved in the past, I don't see why we shouldn't move forward with securing the building, and then, since we have a key, policy as well, and we will, then that will probably reduce the probability of us needing to do that.
So town hall, you're talking about this building,
Yes,
that
sir.
one?
No,
Or
this
both?
one.
Okay.
Yeah, the community center would be responsible for the locks there at the community center, so. But yeah, this one. And it was after, we were notified of the audit is when the board had approved changing the locks on the town hall. That was the other time, because I do remember that now. And I didn't bring the binder of the minutes with me, but, that's what I was saying. Okay, so,
We have a key to that little shed out back,
okay,
it's our town lot, but I think we made room for the mower in the big building, so that's where we can store the mower
oh, okay,
for the winter,
all right.
instead of that little. We can store stuff in there.
Did you get a count on the new lock, the Conan Eric, how many keys you need?
Well, if we just look at the number of employees that we have and the board members, and then we have the food pantry,
There's 2 keys for that.
Two
I
keys.
have one and then Custard has one.
that's right, the storehouse has one. So, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
I was just wondering if they had markers on that.
7, 8,
Yeah, she is.
So I have 10
9, 10.
keys.
Yeah, so right now it would be 10 keys at a minimum is what it looks like.
12 keys and all that, and just, that's just the one that's
Right,
lost or whatever. You know what you got.
yeah, that's what it looks like now. And then if someone requires a key to the town hall, then they can, come to the board for approval and then sign out key. If it needs to be a permanent basis or not.
Just on that question there, what about the people that have the approved that?
Yeah, that's what Kim was saying, there's
Oh,
2
okay,
keys
all right,
there.
all right, okay.
Yeah. So,
I'll make a motion to, do the keys, and do all.
Second.
all in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then, the last one, mine is also kind of busy, 2026 budget request. So she has asked for input into the 26 budget request. So far, we've received input from the park, and that is all the input. So before next meeting, Ray, we would need some input on the community center for your budget request. And what I would recommend is that you estimate donations, even if they're higher than what you would expect to get. And that would keep us from going through and doing that every time. So, then the last, very, very last thing that she has is there's an incident response planning workshop coming up, in Madison, South Dakota. And Nikki is now on the now fallen into that hole of technology. And there is a training coming up on the 12th of August. And it would just include her mileage there, and then I think the training is provided by the state, so the training does not have cost, but I don't see it on, she just says travel, so mileage.
I'll make a motion to say.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Awesome. Everybody work. Okay, water and sanitation department.
Well, so far we got the building fixed, and I went up the other day, but we thought the ball valve for our chlorine injection was bad. It turned out it wasn't the ball valve that was bad, it was actually a deposit built up where that pipe goes into our main well pipe. So I had to take a little rod in there and chisel it to actually get water to flow back through, so our chlorine injection going into our water again. So I got that all taken care of, it's all fixed, so, and everything else looked good with the water.
Put on the sanitation. The first good thing is, they got their retaining wall collections that were finished and they're utilizing it as we speak. And then the next project, we're going to be here in the near future opening a new cell. The old cell is not full by any means, that they're looking ahead in the future. And anyway, so open this new cell. First thing I gotta do is build, I think, 5 new cabinets. And then that go from there. So that's where we're at right now.
All right, the deficiencies list. So our number one issue remaining issue on the deficiencies list at this time is the below ground tank and the access hatch with the spalling has chipped away significantly where things can get into, especially this corner here and right here, things can get into the below ground water tank. It was recognized, it was issued to us as a deficiency in this last report, and we received a quote, the town received a quote to replace that spalling as well as the hatch on the below ground tank. And the amount to do that replacement in total is $8,025. And that's you. And the spalling also does not meet the minimum requirement of 24 inches. So it is supposed to be 24 inches above grade. Above grade. That grade.
So,
And the new hatch for that, if you like, they have out along the new tank, they put along the highway, the different water systems, they put these tank things in.
Yeah.
It's a stainless steel cap, it's on a cylinder, and it has a handle, a lockable handle, so you can unlock it, turn the handle, and it'll open up with one hand versus having 2 people up and lift that seal off that tank.
It does, it's a 2-man lift. And the little water folks were here, they had fun taking that off, and they were too early in, so, yeah.
Get the finger smash if you don't do it right.
are they cleaning the tank when they do that, or are they?
So,
I was reading in it, it's only a cleaning, so I was like,
Yeah,
wait a
they
minute.
go- So when the rural water folks were here, I asked them about if it was necessary, because the report stated, and he said, they'll typically put a, like, when they do a cavity in your mouth, they put that banded, they put this cover in there, they'll cover the hole when they do the spalling around the tank, and so we'll only need to be cleaned if something happens to get into the tank. But he knows these folks, and he said it's unlikely that will happen, like anything will get into the water. So it would only need to be cleaned if something.
So,
Is that the only quote we got?
At this time, and the struggle is who does this kind of work? Yeah, it's finding the vendor that does this type of work, especially in our area.
While we're still on water, I'd like to bring up another thing.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot remember what year it was. We had to go through and replace the cathodic bars in the above ground tank.
the what now?
The cathodic bars
The cathodic bars.
for corrosion
Yep.
and stuff. Them bars should be getting pretty worn and need to be replaced. I talked with, Christine about it,
26.
and, there's 3 bars in there, and they got them replaced. The guy from over in eastern South Dakota came over and put them new bars in for us. Tank was empty, we cleaned it, you know, had it all done, so he came, he put the new bars in. We filled it up halfway, re-cleaned it again, and then drained it, and then put it back in service. But I'm thinking next time that we have something, like cleaning done on that tank, if it's done by divers, have them look at the bars and see if they need to be replaced.
How many were due for, are we due for a cleaning here?
The below ground tank will need to be cleaned next year. And it'll die of inspection done on it as well.
But those bars are in the upper tank or they're, are they in both tanks, upper and?
Just the upper
Just the
tank,
upper.
Just the upper.
just because of the material it's made of.
Okay. That's good to know. So yeah, we're gonna have to dive, and I've, dive up there too.
Yep.
Look at it.
Yeah.
So, any other discussion on this following the below ground tank?
No, we just need to look at it. Accept.
What we're gonna accept or
Well,
something?
maybe hold on to whatever, should we get any more bids in?
I tried 2 different companies and received 1 quote.
Okay, all right.
And TMS can do both of these, and they are in Rapid City. So the other companies are in Minnesota and North Dakota.
You probably pay mileage.
Well, I didn't have mileage, and I prefer, if at all possible, to keep our money in South Dakota.
It's right, and that's, if you approve that, it stays right here in Rapid City. And these people specialize in underground tanks and cement work. That's another reason
What's the name?
to TMS, sir.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm comfortable with this. There's only a couple of them in the area. So I'm making a motion to approve the repair of TMS for $8,025.
Did you second?
Yeah.
I thought I heard you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries. The second deficiency that we have was in the insurance claim, so that's the vent on the above ground steel tank. We already approved that one. And then the third deficiency was the screen size, which TMS is going to take care of the screens as well when they come up to do the tank.
Yes.
So those are our top 3 deficiencies that the state is tracking for us and that we have a response to back to the state. So, favorable responses. Let's see. The next one is the report on water loss. So Todd, interesting, the flow meter reading that you brought me, you were almost 24 hours after the meter reading that I did, and the flow meter read the exact same number.
It's because the tank is full.
Tank is full, alright, there we go.
There's no water flowing because the tank is 10.5 feet.
Okay,
You know, the month's 9 feet.
awesome. Then with that, after all the leaks and repairs that have been done, we had a 3.9% loss, water loss. It's pretty decent considering, the past 2 months have been 78 and 60% loss. Alright, park yard hydrant install. Todd, you're on the spot.
What is
Okay, that's fine.
that hydrant there?
At park.
It's like a yard
A
hydrant.
yard hydrant.
You open for water.
Okay.
You just a regular, you know, Iowa brand or whatever, yard hydrant, I'd say Iowa's a really good brand, but it's up to the town what they want to put in there. And I think Steve and I could go over and dig it up, hook the whole thing up, and put that hydrant in,
All right.
type thing. But like I already said, I mentioned this before, if Kim wants to use the water in there, that's fine, but she'll have to allow it padlocked, so you don't have kids going to open it and leaving it
All right,
running.
that's a good point.
So, can we do that before winter?
Yes, certainly.
Doesn't it self-drain, Todd?
Yes,
All right.
yeah. Put in a bunch of pea gravel down the bottom, you know, I like to go about 4 or 5 5-gallon buckets with the pea gravel, so you got plenty of drainage.
Right, right.
Because I've seen them plug up and the wheat doesn't drain and it freezes and busts the pipe.
Would you like unlock it in the morning and then lock it in the evening?
I would say-
wouldn't use.
I would say whoever's gonna be using it has to kind of key for it, you know?
What about people that stop at the park? You know, like wanna wash their canoes?
I'm not sure that that was the intent of the.
It's for watering the plants and trees and stuff in the area. I think what Kim had been mentioning about it before, so. It's not gonna be there for the public to use all the time. Otherwise, you wouldn't have
Then
lock
we
it.
would need to meter it if we did that.
There's a meter there. There's already a pit there.
Awesome. All right, then there we go.
They put that pit in when they put that new line in right there.
All right, so. Next item is the update on the skate system at the courthouse. And that's your last item.
We got the box put in, and they put the 2 antenna things on, but the box did not have a SIM card in it. And they thought they had one for the shop, it turns out they didn't, they had to order them, they're supposed to be coming in, and when they come in, he said Monday after service gets over, is gonna plan on having the guys down here to put them in. Then they will go back to the shop, make us a page, or whatever, and then they'll get it all to us. We can put it onto our computer, and our cell phone, or whatever. We'll have warnings going off, so alarms go off on the tank. We'll have a warning come across the phone or laptop or whatever you put it on.
And we will need to get Todd a device for that, system.
So we need to wait to find out what the
We
system
gotta find out what
has.
the system requirements are for it. So, yeah, something, it can, I'm sure that it can be one of those, low cost Samsung tablet type things. But once we get the system requirements for that, then we'll come back. Okay, Todd, that's everything, looks like. Good job, thank you. All right, road and streets. And mowing.
We had Jordan stop by, he was on his way to Rapid,
Uh-huh.
fix some stuff up, we stopped by, we looked at the backhoe. There's 3 cylinders that are still leaking, but not bad enough to worry about right now.
Okay.
The main thing that's really bad on it is all of the control levers on the power box on that. He wasn't even sure we could find new pieces for that. It's a 75, so it's just a matter of getting used to running that sloppy thing.
You said on the backhoe?
That's on the backhoe.
Okay.
We're gonna need some more fuel in the backhoe. It's right down on the top edge of the red for empty. So if we could get 5 or 10 gallons of fuel for it. And then also, in the truck, I don't know, if we take another trip to Rapid with this stuff, we might have to fill that up before we go. Because I don't wanna have to push that back from Rapid. But, so it could use some fuel like what we went over.
Okay.
In the back of the shop back there, power that feeds that building comes off of a power pole in the alley. And just on the back side of this little shed that we had the mower in before, there's 2 or 3, maybe even 4 trees that grew up around them lines. And who knows how long it's gonna be before that shorts out. And Todd knows about that.
So is it Black Hills Power, that Black Hills Energy?
It's something that I think we're gonna have to take care of.
Alright.
They're not in the alley. I don't even think there's an alley there, it's the one that goes by Elway's there. Coming
If it's a right way on the power line.
No, it's a right of way.
That's where the power lines run,
But-
north and south.
Okay.
But, you guys have that power line short out.
Yeah.
Always,
Yeah,
concrete.
So, I mean, it's gonna happen sometime, so,
Alright.
But it's like this power line.
it feeds from the transformer to the building that's in between that. I would guess it's something that I might have to cut out or whatever. I don't know. It's not on there.
It's kind of not to be done with.
Huh?
It's kind of not to be done with.
Yeah, that's what needs to be done.
Yes, sir.
So what do you need to do that with? What do you need to do with that?
Take my chainsaw up there and cut them out.
Saves you everything.
Normally running my chainsaw, I charge $50 an hour.
You would? Alright.
I mean,
You can send me a bill.
well, I'm just telling you what my chainsaw work is normally cost.
Okay. Alright.
But something's gonna have to be taken out of there. And they're not real big, but you can't really see that line.
I think the motion to get that tree set.
If they're up in the line, you can call Black Hills Power, I think they'll come through out.
I don't think it will, because our private property.
Right,
Well, while I agree, I think we should call and ask them first. I had a line in my Wonderwood property, and they came all the way onto my property, and cut it all the way up to the meter. So anything that was in the route to the meter, they cut it, even though it's on my property.
they might find out.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would say, I don't have a problem with us moving forward with getting it moved, but first let's try the power company, see if they'll do it, and then our second would be to hire someone.
Alright, what else you got?
The mower needs some oil and filter, and then the little, styrofoam, whatever that, the wrap that goes around.
Pre-filter,
Yeah.
a little
And an oil
foam
filter.
rubber.
Oil filter and oil.
Is it critical right now, or do you think you
No.
can wait till we get the credit card?
The other thing,
That would be coming out.
we are gonna need another battery for that next year for
Right.
sure. We've been having to jump it every time.
Not every time. That's the valve. Too far away from home.
Yeah,
And the battery that's in there is 8 years old, so.
okay.
Just that building, that's just the last one.
Runs great though.
And anything else?
That's okay. Just the fuel in the loader and the truck,
Okay.
and then those trees.
And, I know that you won't have the credit card in time to get the fuel for the backhoe and the truck, so I could take you the fuel for that. You have some tanks? You have some?
I know you guys
Diesel?
mentioned
No.
about getting a 5-gallon can for fuel.
Yeah.
Did you ever do that yet?
They haven't been available, and then I think Herman finally found some at Bonfires the other day, but they hadn't been available.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we need them now, I'll just get them, even though we don't have a credit card, because he needs fuel and I need to load stuff up from the park. You know, whatever it takes, I'll just help out.
Okay, good. All right, building maintenance. We don't have a building maintenance person right now, but before winter, we're gonna need to be interested in that because they're the person that usually goes and checks to make sure we don't close the lines. All right, animal control.
Well, the month of July, I've had 2 animal complaints. One of which I have handled, the other one we're gonna talk about. The first one that was handled 8:30 in the morning, one morning, first part of July, I had somebody knocking on the door. Rather angry, complaining about a barking dog. Dog was barking, they were outside. They were rather angry, upset, and uncooperative. They didn't want to cooperate with me. They didn't want to cooperate with the dog owner to solve the problem. I informed him that I would go and visit with the dog owner. And he told me, well, here's the phone number for the Custer County. I have the phone number for Custer County Animal Control Officer. Flashed his phone at me and said, you can call her if you want. I said, well, text me your phone number. Well, he never did. So it kind of made me think, okay. So I went and I visited with the dog owner. And I had a very angry dog owner. The dog owner has done above and beyond what was necessary before I was called to proceed to mitigate the issue. I was told that the complainant had been kind of harassing the dog. The dog would bark, he'd yell at the dog, and of course would make it bark some more. And what really disturbed me about this particular situation is that somebody had thrown some soup bones across the fence and had been stuffed with what appeared to be Crisco vegetable soup. In a quantity that is getting the dog very sick. It can be fatal to the dog. The dog owner, that happened to him twice. The dog owner showed me the bones, showed me the veterinary bills that were in excess of $400 after the dog got sick and nearly died. That particular situation, when somebody intentionally leaves something in somebody's yard where there's a dog that they have intention that is poisonous, that can kill the dog or injure the dog with intent to kill or injure or harm the animal, there is a criminal process for that. They can be prosecuted to the extent of the law for doing that. Because that falls under animal cruelty. Depending on the amount of poison, the end result, and the number of dogs that have been poisoned, they can do some very serious time behind bars. That happened in Denver, that happened in Arizona, no other states. We've got somebody in Buffalo Gap, in our tiny little happy town, doing this to one of our community members. Based on those two things, I had people that were not willing to cooperate with one another. They were angry. They weren't really hearing me. And somebody had tried to poison the dog. So I called Custer County Animal Control Officer. She made arrangements with the dog owner and me to come visit. A couple days later, we all met at the dog owner's home. And Custer County saw that the dog owner has made every effort and gone above and beyond and made some adjustments in their yard to mitigate the issue. Then the ACO and I went to visit the complainant. And we talked to the complainant and told him what we expected of him to help change it. In other words, don't get out there and yell at the dog. If the dog's barking at you, just flip and ignore him and walk away. He'll quit eventually. You yell at them, throw things at them, they're gonna go harder on you. You become a threat. So stop it. Really kind of, well, I didn't kind of argue with us, but no. The animal control officer put both parties on notice that, first of all, this first visit is a consultation. This first visit is to let you know, put you on notice that you got some things to do to fix the problem. Come into compliance. If I get a second complaint from you guys, the second visit that you get from the AOC of Custer County Ordinance is going to be a little less pleasant. You're not going to like what you have to say. The third call, you guys are going to be, somebody, or both of you, are going to face some charges, you're going to face some fines, you're going to face some citations, and possible removal of the animal from the home. absolutely reassured that their dog's not going to be removed from the home. Because the dog owner was already in compliance 2 or 3 weeks ago when the AOC visited them. And they made every effort. The only thing that has not been done yet is a little bit of basic obedience training, which was recommended by the veterinarian, AOC, and myself. The client has looked into that, $1,200 for 6 weeks worth of dog obedience from a guy up in Edgemont. It's like, the AOC kind of curled her hair and says, "Yeah, I don't think so, don't do that." So I am volunteering to take care of that part of their responsibility and compliance. That part of the dog owner's responsibility and compliance is not required. It is suggested. They have a choice as to whether or not to do that. That is between them and I, as to when and how we're going to do it. That problem has been resolved, but since that time, the dog owner has taken further measures to further mitigate the issue. The complainant is well happy about that. That's where that stands. The last words to the dog owner from the AOC was, I don't have a problem with you guys. You guys are doing the best you can to take care of the problem. You got an issue with the complainant. If this ends up in court, I will sit up there and testify on behalf of you, dog owner, because you admit your burden. Well, since that time, they've met their burden in the court. So they'll have 2 AOCs in court testifying on their behalf. Should it go any farther? I don't anticipate that it will go any farther. But there is always that possibility. But for right now, I gotta let you guys know that I am really beyond upset at what somebody tried to do to these people's dogs. That is absolutely sick. And no, that just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. So if that should happen again, whoever is doing that is gonna have a real problem.
What day was the complaint?
Around July 17th.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It was resolved by, what was it, by the 19th, I believe it was. The next problem I've got, last meeting, at the end of the last meeting, I stopped to visit with one of the community members, and I had 3 ladies come up to me, and, "You're the animal control person in town, right?" I said, "Oh, yeah. What are you gonna do about the chickens that are running loose in town?" I said, "Well, my authority to deal with those things was removed a year ago. I can only deal with dogs. However, I understand where you're coming from, and I'll see what can be done." I got another complaint, another issue with it. Chickens are roosting in places where they shouldn't be, in people's trees, hanging out on people's porches. And I got to looking at something. Before I really get into the complaint and what's going on with it, I gotta talk to you guys about something that I was really into. I started looking into H5N1, which is also called HPAI, which is in short terms bird flu, avian influenza. Avian influenza has been in this state since 2022. In 2023, 30,000 farm pheasants were culled. In 2025, between 16.1 and 16.8 million birds have been culled in this state in South Dakota from 115 commercial flocks, 26 backyard flocks. Since 2022, 666 million birds have been culled in the United States. 70 cases of human H5N1 have been found in the country nationwide. 1 human death. None of those are in South Dakota. And where those came from is in 2022 and 2023, they found that in March 24, they found their first case of H5N1 in dairy cattle. not in the state, elsewhere. It has gone from dairy cattle, actually from birds, from migrating birds, to chickens, to dairy cattle, to barnyard cats, to humans. The humans that were infected were the ones who were working with the infected animals. Some of the humans that were infected never got sick. They were asymptomatic, but they still tested positive.
And that's the bird.
That's the bird flu. In the first 2 months of 2025, nationwide, 30.1 million birds laying hens have been culled. That's a hell of a lot of birds. That's a lot of birds. From 2022, 30,000 birds in the state, up to 16 some odd million. According to USDA, once one bird is found in a flock that is infected with H5N1, the whole flock is culled. All the birds are culled because it is a very virulent virus. It doesn't take much to pass it. What is used to cull the flocks is really kind of weird. It's the foam that firefighters use to retard fire. Firefighting foam.
Spray the chickens with that?
Yes, they spray the hens with, yes, and they call it bird. It's, I guess, from what I was reading, it's pretty brutal to see that happen. The Hutterites on the east side of this state have had numerous outbreaks of H5N1. They have stockpiled their own supply of foam to color their flocks, and they just call a lot of birds.
So Margaret, just for the sake of time, were you able to address the complaints by the citizens?
Okay, what I ended up having to do, and it kind of broke my heart, because that authority for me to deal with this particular problem was removed by the board over a year ago. I'm limited to just dealing with dogs, you guys.
Okay.
And I unfortunately had to tell people that, you know, I can't help you right now. I've got to get with the board and see what we can do to help you. Okay, so that is something I need to get with you guys and deal with. So that's how I had to handle this. I'm sorry to say, it breaks my heart that I can't do something, because something really honestly needs to be done. Because when we're looking at that amount of birds being culled, 700,000 birds in Aurora, South Dakota, since the first of this year have been culled. 36,000 birds, turkeys have been culled from a farm in Beetle this year, since the first of the year. You're looking at a lot of birds, and what they're saying about this particular virus is that once it starts to mutate, it's going to get bad. And it has the potential to mutate much like COVID. It's just happening slower. But the alarm that they're sounding off is that it started that humans have gotten the contract with their infected animals. So I'm thinking that we really need to do something for health and safety and be proactive, because there's a lot of stuff going on with research grants, this, that, and the other. USDA says, well, we're going to have a vaccine by spring. And I'm like, okay, USDA is doing research on it, but in other areas and other places that do research on it, they've been stopped. So as a community, we need to be a little bit more